Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. We'll start the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Please chant along with me. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki shinvatam swakatha krishna punya shravana kirtana हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुविशताम् ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. So we are reading 10 book 2, chapter 1, text number 4. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining. Thank you, His Grace Vindu Prabhu. Thank you for your presence in person. And Adinath Krishna Prabhu, Tim Prabhu, and Vishal Prabhu. Thank you for joining online. 214. देहापत्यकलत्रादिषु आत्मसैन्येषु सत्स्वपि तेषां प्रमत्तो निधनम् पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति देहापत्यकलत्रादिषु आत्मसैन्येषु सत्स्वपि तेषां प्रमत्तो निधनम् पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति देहापत्यकलत्रादिषु आत्मसैन्येषु सत्स्वपि तेषां प्रमत्तो निधनम् पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति देहापत्यकलत्रादिषु आत्मसैन्येषु सत्स्वपि तेषां प्रमत्तो निधनम् पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति. Word for word translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Deha, body. Apatya, children. Kalatra, wife. Adishu, and in everything in relation to them. Atma, own. Saineshu, fighting soldiers. Atsatsu, fallible. Api, in spite of. Tesham, of all of them. Pramatta, too attached. Nidhanam, destruction. Pashyan, having been experienced. Api, although. Na, does not. Pashyati, see it. Translation. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. Purport. This material world is called the world of death. Every living being, beginning from Brahma, whose duration of life is some thousands of millions of years, down to the germs who live for a few seconds only, is struggling for existence. Therefore, this life is a sort of fight with material nature, which imposes death upon all. In the human form of life, a living being is competent enough to come to an understanding of this great struggle for existence. But being too attached to family members, society, country, etc., he wants to win over the invincible material nature by the aid of bodily strength, children, wife, relatives, etc. Although he is sufficiently experienced in the matter by dint of past experience and previous examples of his diseased predecessors, he does not see that the so-called fighting soldiers, like the children, relatives, society members, and countrymen, are all fallible in the great struggle. One should examine the fact that his father or his father's father have already died, and that he himself is therefore also sure to die. And similarly, his children, who are the would-be fathers of their children, will also die in due course. No one will survive in this struggle no one will survive in this struggle with material nature. The history of human society definitely proves it. Yet, the foolish people still suggest that in the future they will be able to live perpetually with the help of material science. This poor fund of knowledge exhibited by human society is certainly misleading, and it is all due to ignoring the constitution of the living soul. This material world exists only as a dream due to our attachment to it. Otherwise, the living soul is always different from the material nature. The great ocean of material nature is tossing with the waves of time, and the so-called living conditions are something like forming bubbles, which appear before us as bodily self, wife, children, society, countrymen, etc. Due to a lack of knowledge of self, we become victimized by the force of ignorance and thus spoil the valuable energy of human life in a vain search after permanent living conditions, which are impossible in this material world. Our friends, relatives, and so-called wives and children are not only fallible but also bewildered by the outward glamour of material existence. As such, they cannot save us. Still, we think that we are safe within the orbit of family, society, or country. The whole materialistic advancement of human civilization is like the decoration of a dead body. Everyone is a dead body flapping only for a few days, and yet all the energy of human life is being wasted in the decoration of this dead body. Shukdev Goswami is pointing out the duty of a human being after showing the actual position of bewildered human activities. Persons who are devoid of the knowledge of Atma Tattva are misguided, but those who are devotees of the Lord and have perfect realization of transcendental knowledge are not bewildered. ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, seeking your blessings. So, we heard in the end of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, that Parikshit Maharaj has asked this very important question to Shukdev Goswami. The way of perfection for the living being. What is the way of perfection? What a living being should remember, what he should chant, what he should hear, what he should worship, and what he should not do. Please tell me in detail, especially for people who are living to die. And Prabhupada says, who is not going to die? Everybody is going to die, as he says in the purport. So this question is valid for everybody. And Shukdev Goswami is explaining what one should not do. So in the previous two verses, he mentioned that people in this world, they are hearing so many subject matters. They have thousands of subject matters to hear. Because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth. So how does that materialistic person spend his day in earning money, in maintenance of family, in and in the night he's sleeping or enjoying sex life? So he's mentioning what one should not do before he explains what one should do. And in today's verse, Shukdev Goswami is mentioning that persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. So myself and Swan Bindu Prabhu yesterday were on book distribution. We are going to different shops and then we entered a plaza where there were many offices. So many places where we entered, people said, "Oh, we are not interested." And one lady kindly accepted the book and escorted us out of the store very, very kindly. She escorted us out without saying a single word. So we can see that how living being is entangled or completely immersed in the illusion of material happiness. They don't want to do anything with self-realization.
I think they were just afraid of us.
Yeah, they could be afraid of us. Yes, that's also possible. So, in the purport, Prabhupada says that we are on a fight with the material nature because the material nature is imposing death upon us. So, living entity has this nature of fearfulness, even though they have such a opulent place to stay, but the security wise, they are not feeling safe because the living entity identifies with the body. They are devoid of Atma Tattva. They are devoid of the understanding that Dehe Asmin. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in chapter 2, yeah, they, how does it go? Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantar praptir dhiras tatar namuyati. That the living entity is passing in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. Similarly, at the end of life, it passes to another body. So, a sober person is not bewildered with such a change. But other people who are devoid of Atma Tattva, who do not know that we are not this body, they are bewildered. So, they are somehow holding to whatever possessions they have, especially their own body, and then it extends to children, wife, property, trying to save them at all cost, and one hopes that these things will protect them from death. Although they see that their predecessors, their parents, and so many people are dying around them, but they do not see that there is an inevitable destruction coming for their own body, their own self. So this is how a living entity should not do. That's Shukdev Goswami is explaining. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that living entity is struggling this great struggle for existence. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there are four problems of life: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshanudarshanam. These are the actual problems of life. Why are they actual? Why, somebody may ask, oh, I don't have a job. That is the real problem of life. I don't have a place to stay. I don't have food to eat. That is the real problem of life. How can you say these are the real problems of life? So, real problem, the definition of that is that it is true for every person, not for some people. Actual problem exists for each and every living entity. So we can see the birth is true for every living entity. Excuse me. It's painful process to take birth. We can see that in the hospitals how painful it is for the mother and for the child. Birth, death, the process of death is very, very painful, as it is said that it feels like thousand scorpions biting at the same time. When a person leaves the body, it's very painful to leave the body. Janma Mrityu Jara, old age. Old age is very painful. I remember my grandmother. I used to see her. She was in 70s, close to 80s. It was very painful for her. She used to take care of so many things single-handedly, and she raised all of us, all of her children and grandchildren, very powerfully, very strongly, even after my grandfather departed earlier. But when there's old age, then the body just doesn't cooperate. The living entity has the motivation, has the desire to work, to to move things in the world, but the body doesn't cooperate, the mind doesn't cooperate. So one feels embarrassed. One is not in the old age. One is not able to even control passing urine, passing stool. It becomes very difficult. One and then the last problem is of one has a lot of diseases, different kind of diseases, blood pressure, cough, cold, low immunity. So all these are very embarrassing for the living being, but these are enforced upon us. They are imposed upon us by material nature, and we don't want to see this, although we know it is coming. There is so much cosmetic industry is booming, billions and billions of dollars. They have those injections on your skin so that you don't have wrinkles in your skin. I think the Botox. People pay thousands and thousands of dollars for them, maybe even more. I don't know. I have no idea about it, thankfully. So, but people spend so much money on cosmetics so that they don't want to feel old. They don't want to look old. I also heard that if you don't color your hair, people say, why are you not taking care of yourself? They feel offended. They don't want to even see other people aging. What to speak of themselves? And this is the modern society. It covers the realities of life. These are the four problems of life. Food problem can be solved, job problem can be solved, shelter problem can be solved, but these four problems they cannot be solved. Dukkha dosha anudarshanam. So seeing this, a person should inquire about what is the real purpose of life, what is eternal happiness, where is eternal happiness. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport that Brahma, who is the topmost engineer of this universe, who is the creator of this universe under the jurisdiction of Krishna, even he has a duration of life. In Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that his duration of life is fantastical. It is consists of um, it's around 311 trillion 40 billion Earth years or human years. 311 trillion 40 billion human years. It is fantastical, but it is still a flash in terms of eternity. And those germs, they are called Diwali germs. They take birth in the evening. In India, you can see them near a lamp.
Diwali.
Diwali germs. They like during Diwali festival, we see them a lot. Uh, uh, and they are just flying in the next to this a particular torch or light. You will see a lot of them, and the next day in the morning you will see them lying dead next to the torch, right? And they are just broomed. So many dead bodies being broomed. So similarly, the human body is there, but compared to eternity, our life is so short. These germs have their whole life cycle in one night. They have their kids, they have their progeny. So there are six changes of the matter. Actually, there are six changes for the living being in the body. So one comes into existence, one grows, one stays for some time, one produces byproducts in terms of children, then the body dwindles and vanishes. So these are the six changes of the body. We have seen it in our life, we are seeing this in others' lives, but still, I don't see my impending destruction. Nidhanam. Nidhanam. So this is a very interesting word. Nidhanam. Dhanam means some wealth, some possession that you have, and nidhanam means you lose everything. You become devoid of everything, all your possessions. That's called death. But the only thing that we carry is our soul, is us, and we pass to the next life. So in Brahma Samhita, there is a verse. It's called. It's about the duration. Okay, so it's called. It shows us how Krishna burns the karma of a living entity who is surrendered to him. Yes. Brahma Samhita 5.54. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. So it is mentioning that Krishna provides the results of karma for every living entity. Indragopa is a tiny germ, and Indra is the king of the heavenly planets. So Krishna is giving the results of karma to everybody. But people who take shelter of Krishna, who become devotees, Krishna burns to the roots all the fruitive activities of those people. So I will read a certain part of this purport. Karma, though without beginning, is still perishable. The karma of those who work with the hope of enjoying the fruits of their labors becomes everlasting and endless and is never destroyed. The function of sannyas is also a sort of karma, befitting an ashram and is not pleasant to Krishna when it aims at liberation, that is, desire for emancipation. They also receive fruition of their karma, and even if it is disinterested, their karma ends in Atma Mamta, that is self pleasure. But those who are pure devotees always serve Krishna by gratifying his senses, forsaking all attempts of karma and jnana, and being free from all desires save that of serving Krishna. So karma may seem endless, it is without beginning. There's unlimited stocks of karma. One cannot imagine how much karma we have accrued over millions and millions of lifetimes. But when a person surrenders to Krishna, Krishna purges all that karma. So there's a very beautiful verse, Devrishi Bhutaptanidam Pitrinam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rini Charajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariharitya Kartam. I will read the translation for that verse. Basically, it mentions about different kinds of debts that a living entity has in this world. This is, one becomes free from all obligations. Okay. O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, or mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. This is 11th Canto, Chapter 5, Text 41. So, purport: one who has not fully surrendered to the devotional service of the Lord undoubtedly has many material duties to perform. Every ordinary conditioned soul is the recipient of innumerable benefits given by the demigods who provide sun and moonshine, rain, wind, food, and ultimately one's own material body. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Stena evasa, one who does not reciprocate with the demigods by offering them sacrifice is Stena, or a thief. Similarly, other living entities such as cows are providing us with innumerable delicious and nutritious foodstuffs. When we wake up in the morning, our mind is refreshed by the sweet singing of birds, and on a hot day, we enjoy the cool shade and breeze of the forest trees. We are accepting service from innumerable living entities and we are obliged to repay them. Apta means one's own family members to whom one is certainly obligated according to normal morality, and Nrinam means human society. Until one becomes a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is certainly a product of his society. We receive mundane education, culture, tradition, and protection from the society in which we live, and thus we owe a great debt to society. Of course, our debt to society is not simply to the present order, but to all of our forefathers and ancestors who carefully preserved moral and social customs so that we, their descendants, could live peacefully. Therefore, the word Pitrinam or forefather indicates our debt to previous generations. So it is not that Srimad Bhagavatam is simply denying that we should not act for these people. Srimad Bhagavatam says that we owe a great debt to these people too. Of course, our body, our own body, is a gift of Krishna. Children, wife, society, they are provided by Krishna so that we can live a meaningful life, a fulfilling life, because we have material desires to enjoy here. So we owe a great debt to all of them. And the way to liquidate that debt is by surrendering to Krishna. In fact, the members of the Krishna consciousness society are sometimes criticized by materialistic persons for giving too much attention to Krishna rather than working to fulfill all of the above mentioned obligations. In reply to this, the Bhagavatam states, Yatha taror mola nishechanena tripyanti taskand bhujopashaka. If one waters the root of a tree, automatically all of the branches, twigs, leaves, etc. are also nourished. There is no need for nor any effectiveness in separately pouring water on the branches, twigs, and leaves of a tree. The water has to be placed on the root. Similarly, food must be placed in the stomach from where it is automatically distributed to all of the limbs of the body. It is foolish to try to nourish the whole body by rubbing food separately on all the bodily limbs. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the source of all existence. Everything is emanating from Krishna, everything is maintained by Krishna, and at the end, everything will merge to rest in Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the supreme benefactor, friend, protector, and well-wisher of every living entity. And if he is satisfied, then automatically the whole world will become satisfied. Just as all of the bodily limbs are strengthened and satisfied when food is duly remitted to the stomach. So Prabhupada also gives the example of the income tax. We pay our income tax to the government. Now is the time of taxes. So then it is duly distributed to all the departments in the government. We don't have to give them individually, separately, for the air department, for the road department, so many things. So similarly, when we serve Krishna, everybody else is satisfied. I personally feel when I read these books, transcendental literature, when I chant Hare Krishna, we understand how much um, we owe to our parents, and we become more grateful in our communication. We become more appreciative. So it's all encompassing. At the same time, we do not have unnecessary attachment to the body. We do not have affection based on the skin relationship. This skin relationship will be broken by the waves of time, as Prabhupada is saying in the purport. This material world is like a drain, and it's an ocean where there are waves of time, and we see bubbles. They are forming bubbles in terms of our body, in terms of wife, in terms of children. They are there for only some time. They are not going to stay forever. So our relationship, our affection should not be based on the skin relationship. It should be based on the relationship of the soul. That all these people I am put in association with, they are actually part and parcel of Krishna. So I need to respect them on that platform. And to whatever extent they can receive Krishna consciousness, we provide them. Uh, if they cannot, we can offer them prasadam, we can pray for them. If they are envious, we don't want to make them more envious of Krishna. But this is the best service we can perform towards our own body, towards other relatives. Not recently, but few years ago, my sister got married, so we had gifted everybody a Bhagavad Gita in the marriage ceremony to the relatives who came. So this is the best gift we can give to our relatives. Actually, when we did that, when we were planning to do that, they were saying maybe it's not a great idea in the marriage ceremony, giving Bhagavad Gita to people. Uh,
That's inauspicious.
yeah, yeah, maybe we should definitely give a box of sweets, yeah, but I don't know about Bhagavad Gita. They were not so sure, and they were giving different arguments. So I said, why are you putting the stall of liquor in the marriage ceremony? How is that auspicious for the marriage ceremony? If you can serve liquor in a marriage ceremony, why I can't give Bhagavad Gita? So they didn't say anything.
Yeah,
So,
because in Bhagavad Gita we was told of
yeah. So we distributed 100 Bhagavad Gitas during that time. And then when my grandmother passed away, at that time I also requested if we can distribute some books. So some devotees came from Delhi and they brought books, Ishopanishad, Beyond Birth and Death, smaller books, and we gave those during her passing away. So you can utilize those functions to actually share Krishna consciousness. So this same relationship can entangle us in the material world, and it can make us forget our constitutional position, our purpose of human mission. But the same relationship, we when we see them in the light of Krishna consciousness, deliver us can deliver us from this entanglement. Um, Narad Muni gives the example of picking a thorn using another thorn. This body is a bad bargain. This relationships in this material world is a bad bargain. But we can use the same relationships to get out of this problem. We can see the problems of staying in the family life, so we can cultivate Krishna consciousness share Krishna consciousness, apply Krishna consciousness, give Krishna consciousness. So using a one thorn to prick another thorn. Kantaka kantakenaiva. So use one thorn to take another thorn. Also, another example is of the vaccine. We use the same bacteria which causes that disease to cure that disease, uh, right? By vaccination, and it's used therapeutically. That is the difference in a certain quantity, so that the body actually develops those cells to fight that particular bacteria. So when you actually get the infection, you already have those cells in your body. That immunity is already there, so you are protected. So if we can see our relationship with the body, with the children, with the wife in that light, then we won't be contaminated. Otherwise, that's the difference between householder and grihastha and a grihamedi. A grihastha sees his possessions, his family, his body as a gift of Krishna, and he tries to engage them in service of Krishna. But a grihamedi, he sees this as his um, soldiers, that they will protect him from his impending death. But none of these people, they can't protect themselves. How will they protect you? So they do not see this impending destruction. It's called Shamshan Vairagya. Even if they go and attend funeral ceremonies, we feel, oh, maybe I should do something about this. I am also going to be on this funeral someday. Someday people will come for my funeral. But then, as soon as we leave the funeral ceremony, then we watch a movie and maybe take some food in a restaurant, and then we forget everything. It's called Shamshan Vairagya. This detachment stays for a few minutes and then we forget totally. That's why we need to chant, hear, and remember Krishna every day. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I blabbered something from a understanding. Now I would like to open this for any corrections, questions, and reflections. Hare Krishna. Yes, Tim Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice
Hare
to see
Krishna.
you.
Nice to
That's
see you.
great class. Yeah, just one quick reflection. I heard this on Wisdom of the Sages yesterday, and it's appropriate because of the topic we're covering, talking about death for materialists and death for people who are Krishna consciousness. And there's a saying, I'm sure you've heard it. We say, die to live and live to die. The first part, die to live, is renunciation, renouncing the lower modes, the lower activities, so that we can cultivate the seed of bhakti. And then the second part is live to die, and that's preparation for the final moments, being able to be conscious of Krishna at the moment of death. So those are my quick reflection, Prabhu. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Die to live and live to die. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
I wanted to share something.
Yes.
One
Vishal.
thing you mentioned was about the four problems that anybody with a body have,
Hmm.
and I've heard, I think I mentioned also that the body is actually an acronym for birth, old age, disease, and Yamaraj. So it's birth, old age, disease, and death. So body itself, the word itself encompasses its meaning, and you laid a lot of emphasis towards the middle of the class about how even Lord Brahma's life of 300 trillion years, 311 trillion years, are also just a flash and it'll just be gone. I remember reading a book on Stoic philosophy maybe 10, 15 years ago called On the Shortness of Life, and that was by Seneca. And in that book, it's a short book, and then he lays emphasis on the same point, that the life people think life is short, but he gives a slight positive twist to it. He says, we know it is short, yes, but it is long enough if you know how to spend it well. If you know what the actual purpose is, and if you are actively working towards it, then whatever time you have, that is not short, that is more than sufficient. And then we see the example of Katwanga Maharaj. He had like a moment's time, and maybe even Parikshit Maharaj, he had like a good life, and then he got to know he only has 7 days, and that being just a week did not um, restrict him in any way. In fact, it was sufficient time for him to make that spiritual progress. So whatever time we have, definitely we can see that as being a flash in the grand scheme of things and very small and minute. But if we actually use it well, then it is sufficiently long enough to make a difference. So I just wanted to give it's not a contrarian point of view, just a related point of view, but from a different angle.
Yeah, yeah, true. It's very nice, actually. Thank you for mentioning on the shortness of life by Lenica. Of course, my understanding is he's saying utilizing your life for the right things. And he must be speaking about some kind of self-realization. I'm assuming something metaphysical.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So we know that verse, Ayurharti Vai Pumsam. uh, आयुर्भवति वै पुंसाम्
Udyan
उद्यानस्तं
Ashtavachaya.
सु तस्यार्थं यशनो नीता उत्तम श्लोक वार्त्या that with every
Mhm.
sunrise and every sunset the sun is taking away the life of those who are engaged in material affairs except those people
Mm,
who are engaged in glorifying Krishna. So if a person
mm,
is pursuing Krishna consciousness or indirectly Krishna consciousness, some other path self-realization. So he is utilizing his life. Um, but for others, it's it's like a flash. It doesn't amount to anything. That's why people towards the end of their life they say they have this list. Oh, if I
regrets.
I could have, what is it called? The wish list. Yeah,
The bucket list, bro.
bucket list. Yeah, if I could do this, if I could do that. I mean, actually, yeah. Unless one feels their love for Krishna, one doesn't feel satisfaction in this world, no matter how much they enjoy material happiness. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, bro.
Okay, we'll stop here. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much
Jai.
for joining.